This conference will now be recorded.
Hey everybody, this is Dr. Doug Smith. It is Thursday, a little bit after 2:30, and this is our Monday through Thursday 2:30 podcast. And I believe Charles is going to be joining us today also. Yesterday's podcast didn't record well, so we just re-recorded it. Now we're doing today's podcast. And again, we are on the part of the second citizens petition. We're going through the citizens petitions page by page. And we're on the part of the second citizens petition where we're talking about our demands of the FDA, and there are 11 of them, and we're talking about demand number 11. And what we're talking about here is the fact that the FDA has the ability to grant a monopoly to a pharmaceutical company. That's what they do. Okay, only one pharmaceutical company can have permission to make this drug until it's generic. Okay, and that's the issuance. That's the granting of a monopoly. Okay, and the reason that they do that is because there's research and development cost, and the pharmaceutical companies claim they need the monopoly, they need the protection, they need the exclusivity in order to offset their research and development cost. And quite frankly, as long as U.S. life expectancy grew every year, it was an okay deal. It was okay to grant these monopolies. It was working. The system was working, but the system is based on the fact that the FDA is required to follow the science. Okay, and as long as the FDA follows the science and grants monopolies based upon the science, everybody's happy. Everything works. And what happened here in this opioid crisis is that the FDA granted a monopoly, but it wasn't based on science. They granted a monopoly based on what the psychiatrist said. And psychiatry is not a science. Psychiatry is not science. Psychiatry is a pretend science. It's a pseudoscience. It's a wannabe. It's a poser. It's not real science. And that doesn't come from me. That comes from the father of modern science, Dr. Karl Popper, who said psychiatry is a pseudoscience, said psychiatry is no different from astrology, said psychiatry is no different from your horoscope. And if you treat psychiatry as a science, you're not going to like where you end up. And that's exactly what happened here with this opioid crisis. The FDA treated psychiatry as if it was a real science, and they issued a monopoly based upon psychiatry, and they gave a monopoly based upon opioid use disorder, and opioid addiction, and they granted the monopoly status based upon these mental health diagnoses. And now you've got these companies out there that are making millions of dollars. Okay, they're making millions of dollars promoting something that is false, promoting something that is untrue. In order for these companies to continue to make millions and millions of dollars, they have to continue to promote something that's not true. And hey, we all know how money works. And if you gotta push a lot to make money, they're gonna push a lot to make money. Okay, and they're gonna push a falsehood, and they're gonna resist the truth. And that's exactly what's happening today. That's exactly why we're having so much trouble breaking through the ice and spreading the truth, because people are making money off of the falsehood. If people were not making money off of the falsehood, we wouldn't have any trouble breaking through the ice and bringing forth the truth. But people are making money off of the falsehood, and that creates a real dilemma for us. So that's the point that we wanted to make today. And the last point that we want to make is this opioid use disorder, opioid addiction. It's not a harmless label. It's not a harmless little white lie. Okay, millions of people are dead because of this. Millions of people have been genetically damaged because of this, and we believe a significant number of children and grandchildren and offspring are suffering from the genetic damage. So we need to erase this, and it's going to be hard to do because they're making money. But that's what we need to do, and that's what we're asking the FDA to do. So we're gonna hold here today. We're gonna ask Charles if our words are making sense. But before we do, everybody remember to like and subscribe to us. Post us on your social media and post us on everybody else's social media. Charles, are we making any sense?
Yes, you are. It's coming through clear to me. The more you get into it, about the way they do, the way they operate, and the way they hand out contracts. And it's understandable how this came about. especially. I didn't actually realize psychiatry was considered a science. I didn't know it was.
I think you're
Um,
looking for the word pseudoscience.
yeah. I mean, I is it even qualified today as science?
Uh, they want you to believe that they're science, and they will argue till they're blue in the face that they are scientific.
But
But
technically not.
but when the father of modern science says, no matter what you do, you're not real science, you can't change that. And the reason that they're not real science, is Charles, is because psychiatry is based on an observation, and
Exactly.
there's no way to test an observation. Let's say,
Right.
heaven forbid, I get chest pain this afternoon, and I go to the emergency department with chest pain. Okay, now the doctor in the emergency department may think I'm having a heart attack, and the doctor in the emergency department may say, "Hey, I think you're having a heart attack," but the doctor's going to say, "Let's do a chest X-ray, a CAT scan, an EKG, and some blood work, and let's see if we find any evidence of a heart attack."
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
but you go to a psychiatrist, and like you did, Charles, you go to a mental health professional, you go to rehab, you go to any of those guys, and they say, "Well, I think you have opioid addiction." How can you test that? It's an observation,
Yes, it is.
and
And
that's
I would like to, I just wanted to say something today before we go to all the people out there that go to Butte Me and use your service, and anybody else that happens to be listening that's interested in this. I think it's about time, uh, unless the lawsuit starts moving things forward, that we start doing some things that are different.
well,
And I
well,
mean
well,
different and
Charles.
radical.
I don't want to run. I don't want to run over time today, but I do have an update on the lawsuit. Can I
Oh,
take 90 seconds and walk you through it?
absolutely.
All right, Charles. You know that as far as the lawsuit goes, okay, there are 5 components to a toxicology, a toxic tort lawsuit. The first two are general causation and specific causation. Does the agent, does the opioid have the ability to poison the DNA? That's general causation. Did the opioids poison the DNA? You, Charles, that's specific causation. Did that
Exactly.
poisoning result in a signature disease, a disease that only occurs in the setting of the poisoning? And that's absolutely true. There's nothing else on the face of the planet or in the universe even remotely similar to what our people experience in opioid withdrawal. So, general causation, specific causation, signature disease, those 3 are covered. The fourth component is biomarker of exposure, and that was our first DNA test. Okay, so we cleared that hurdle back in December, January, uh, and with a little bit of luck and a lot of work. And Charles, I got good news. We may have found a way to isolate the biomarker of disease. And if so,
What's that?
we are the first group in the history of mankind to isolate a biomarker of disease in a lawsuit involving poisoning, a toxicology. You follow me?
Could you repeat that for me? That part.
Yes. Uh, we think we have figured out a way to isolate. Well, let me explain it to you. Okay, let me stop using the legal terms and let me just use the everyday terms. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. When our people or in Charles, when your DNA was methylated, okay, that methylated DNA, all DNA does is it produces what's called messenger RNA, and that messenger RNA is what goes out in the body and does its stuff. That's all
Yeah.
DNA does, is it
Right.
makes messenger RNA. And we believe that the messenger RNA of people who have been poisoned is going to be different from the messenger RNA of people who haven't been. And we further believe that the percentage of the abnormal messenger RNA is going to be based on the percentage of your methylation. So, Charles, let's take you for instance. Let's assume that you were about 12% abnormally methylated. Well,
Yes.
then we believe that we're going to find about 12% of this specific messenger RNA to be different from the rest of your messenger RNA. See, we can compare it even within your own body. We don't need to compare you to somebody else. We can compare the messenger RNA that's made from the bad DNA, compare it to the messenger RNA that's made from the good DNA, and even within your own body, we think we can find this evidence of what is actually the disease. Do you follow me?
Well, let me ask you this: if you've taken opiates long enough, would there be any RNA that wouldn't be affected, or is that constantly being made?
The highest methylation percent we've seen yet was only 19%, which means 81% of that person's DNA was still normal.
Oh, I see. I got you. I understand.
Right. It's not 100%. Okay, so our people make plenty of normal messenger RNA, but they make enough abnormal messenger RNA that it makes them sick.
Gotcha. I see. I was just making sure because I didn't know if it eventually just took over all of them, or.
Well, I didn't know that either, Charles, and I've had to kind of learn along the way. So what you just said is what I used to believe, and it took me a while to figure out that ain't the way the world works.
Yeah. Okay.
So that took you're and thank you for catching up. What you just did in 45 seconds took me about 45 days. So you beat me on that one. But the bottom line is we think we figured out a way to isolate that both the abnormal RNA and the normal RNA in any given individual. Now, if we have, Charles, if this works, okay. And by the way, Charles, I'm kind of hoping you'll be one of the first to give blood. And
oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
If this works, Charles, we got him by the knees.
So what would be the problem with not you? The problem will be not being able to find
It's
both
such
types.
a small amount. It's such a small amount. There's a thing called an LOD, a level of detection. And it's possible that this small amount of messenger RNA is below the level of detection. We have developed what's called an amplification technique. We can make a whole bunch of copies of the one we're looking for. And I mean, I'll tell you, Charles, I think it's going to work.
Honestly, I believe you're going to get it. I believe you're not going to have to amplify it because the damage is so bad in some people. I believe you're going to find it.
Well, if we do, Charles, we'll be the first people in the history of human race, first people in the history of mankind that ever actually isolated the biomarker of D in an episode of a poisoning. And boy, do I want that for our people. Boy, do I want
yeah, I want it for them too.
You know, and it does this drive me every day? Yes. Does it wake me up at 5 a.m. and get me out of bed? Yes. Is it still driving me at 11:30 at night? Yes.
I feel the same way. I mean, I make myself sick sometimes because I get to where I've got, Social Security going on. I got my life going on, plus my regular treatments and all that. And I'm still wanting to deal with this too. I'm trying to get to everybody I can. You know what I mean? I really want to get this out there. And
Charles, I think it would be an honor if you were one. We're probably gonna do 10 different blood samples when we run it. And it would be an honor for you to be one of those 10 and to be the pioneer and to be that first footprint on the moon.
I'll be glad. I'll be glad to.
Well, let's hold here for today. Alex is going to get mad if we go over too long. But I guarantee you, Alex is listening to this right now, nodding his head, going, "Wow, that's pretty cool." And Alex, it is pretty cool. All right, let's hold here. Everybody, have a great weekend. And Alex just thank you, Alex. Alex just sent me a text. Yeah, this is real, Alex. This is we had a huge breakthrough this week. This was and the funny thing about it, and then this is the last thing I'm going to say. The funny thing about it is
now let me
how obvious it was. It really wasn't that hard. All right, let's hold here. Charles, have a great weekend. Alex, have a great weekend. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you back Monday at 2:30. Bye-bye, everybody.
Okay. Bye.